From a plane dropping through low clouds, Iceland looks full. Glaciers sprawl over mountains, steam leaks from the ground, and a small capital city presses against the sea. On a map, the island is larger than Ireland, around 103 square kilometers, yet fewer than 400,000 people live here, roughly 4 people per square kilometer. You leave Reykjavik on the main ring road, and the city vanishes in minutes. Streetlights thin out, houses stop, and long stretches of lava and moss spread in every direction. Tourists drop in for hot springs and northern lights, then fly back to crowded streets. Icelanders stay in a country that runs on almost 100% renewable electricity, ranks high for safety and education, and hides black sand beaches, wild whale watching, and long winter nights that can light up green. So, why does almost nobody live in Iceland? And why do the people who stay keep choosing it? Number 1. Brutal winters. Even in the friendlier coastal strips, the sky does not make things easy. Iceland sits just south of the Arctic Circle. In December, Reykjavik gets around 4 hours of daylight near the solstice. Farther north, in towns like Akureyri, the sun barely clears the horizon for a short arc and then slides away again. Temperatures near the coast often hover around freezing in winter, which sounds manageable until you add wind. Atlantic storms slam into the island with gusts that can easily top 100 kilometers an hour in exposed areas. Roads glaze with ice. Snow piles against doors and bus routes shut when visibility drops. Inside that long season, people go to work in the dark and come home in the dark for weeks. Seasonal depression is common in climates like this, where long twilight slowly wears down sleep and mood. Kids in northern towns play football under floodlights in the middle of the afternoon. There are clear upsides. Summer days can flip into nearly constant light, and the same clear nights that feel endless in December can explode with northern lights. But the balance is not easy. Could you handle months where the only real daylight you see is on your lunch break, and every plan depends on the next storm forecast? Number 2. Global isolation. Pull out a globe and look for Iceland. It stands alone in the North Atlantic, several hundred kilometers from the nearest mainland. Greenland is closer than Europe, and most of Greenland is a sheet of ice. Before regular air travel, getting here meant days in heavy seas. Ships faced strong currents, sudden fog, and storms with little warning. That isolation kept numbers low. Around 1900, the entire country had fewer than 80,000 residents, even though it was already mapped and settled. Distance still shapes life. Every container of food, fuel, or construction material has to cross an ocean first. Flights link Reykjavik to Europe and North America, but winter storms can still ground planes and close runways. When a storm shuts down a hub city elsewhere, Iceland feels it in empty shelves and canceled connections. You land, feel the cold hit your face, and know you're far from home. For people thinking about a permanent move, the same distance means more expensive travel to see family, fewer options if something goes wrong with work, and a constant dependence on shipping lanes and flight schedules. Number 3. High cost of living. Even if you love quiet and cold, the cost of staying can still push you out. By many measures, Iceland sits among the most expensive places in the world to live. One survey of expat costs in 2024 ranked it behind only Switzerland. Part of that is distance. A small market with fewer than 400,000 people cannot produce everything it needs. Fruit, cars, electronics, building materials, and most manufactured goods arrive by ship or by plane. Transport and import taxes stack on top of base prices. Local wages are high by global standards, helped by a GDP per person in the high 60,000s of US dollars. But rent and food swallow a big slice of those paychecks. A simple dinner out for 2 in Reykjavik can match what a full grocery run would cost in many other European cities. Tourism adds another twist. In recent years, around 2 million visitors have passed through the country, about 5 to 6 times the resident population. Tourism brings jobs and foreign money, yet it also pushes up hotel prices and housing in the capital as flats compete between long-term renters and visitors. In a fishing town with one supermarket, competition is limited. If storms delay the truck, the fresh food section simply sits empty until the next ship docks. For many people, the math is simple. You can live somewhere else in Europe with lower grocery bills, cheaper housing, and no need to budget for flights to visit family. How much are the Northern Lights worth when your weekly shop already feels like a small luxury? Number 4. Rugged terrain. Underneath all that scenery, the basic geography works against people. About 10% of Iceland is buried under glaciers. Raw lava fields, high plateaus, and cold desert cover much of the rest. Only around 25% of the land is really useful for towns, roads, and farms. The reason sits deep below. Iceland straddles the line where the North American and Eurasian plates pull apart. More than 100 volcanoes rise on and around the island, and dozens are still considered active. That tectonic tug-of-war lifts mountains and opens rifts. All of that creates a dramatic postcard. You get waterfalls dropping off basalt cliffs, steaming hot springs, and bright green valleys trapped between black ridges. It is spectacular to visit and hard to live in. The Central Highlands have almost no trees, few proper roads, and very little shelter. In winter, the wind scours loose snow across black stone. Out on those gravel tracks, the car chatters over washboard ruts while sharp volcanic peaks sit on the horizon. There are no villages hiding just behind the next hill. If you break down, the distance itself becomes the problem. For most people, that is not an inviting place to build a life. Number 5. Lack of social opportunities. Look at a population map and the way people cluster tells its own story. Roughly 2/3 of Icelanders live in the capital region around Reykjavik and nearby towns on the southwest coast. Small clusters stretch along fjords and fishing harbors. The interior is almost blank. The pattern follows old logic. The lowlands near the sea have milder weather, ice-free harbors, and land that can handle grazing and buried pipes. Glacial rivers carve valleys where you can actually lay roads without blasting through solid rock. Geothermal fields often sit near these margins, so towns can heat homes and pools with hot water piped straight from underground. Drive the ring road and you feel how narrow this habitability strip is. 1 hour, you are in a compact capital with supermarkets and apartment blocks. The next hour, you roll through a town with one main street, one grocery store, and a harbor with more boats than people on the pier. Beyond that, the road can run for dozens of kilometers with nothing but hills, spray, and the same white posts marking the edge of the tarmac. Some regions have been hollowing out for decades. The West Fjords, once home to well over 10,000 people, are down to around 7,000 residents today. When enough families leave, schools merge classes or close, clinics cut hours, and the next teenager has one more reason to move away instead of staying. In a country this small, when one town shrinks, there is rarely another big one just down the road. That can make the social world feel very small, very quickly. Number 6. Natural disasters. Even if you find a town you like, the ground underneath has its own plans. Iceland records thousands of earthquakes every year as the plates below continue to shift. Most are small. Some are sharp enough to rattle shelves and swing lampshades. Every few years, that underground tension breaks the surface. In 2010, the Eyjafjallajökull eruption sent ash high into the atmosphere and disrupted European flights for days. More recently, the Reykjanes Peninsula near the capital has seen repeated quakes and eruptions. In late 2023 and early 2024, new fissures opened near the town of Grindavik, cutting roads, damaging utilities, and forcing repeated evacuations. For visitors, watching red lava creep across old fields is a bucket list moment. For locals, it's a reminder that a house, a road, or even an entire neighborhood can end up on the wrong side of a new crater. When you're deciding whether to move your family to a small country, possible evacuation due to fresh lava is not an easy box to tick. Over time, that risk nudges cautious people toward more stable pieces of the planet. Number 7. Limited economic opportunity. Iceland has always been a small society, and small societies feel every departure. Around 1900, as heavy industry took off elsewhere, the island held fewer than 80,000 people. Today, it has climbed to just under 390,000. That is a five-fold increase, but spread over more than a century and an area roughly the size of Kentucky. Harsh winters, disease, and disasters like the 1783 Laki eruption cut deep into early numbers. In the 20th century, fishing technology, better healthcare, and new industries improved life, yet also pulled people toward a few hubs. Many young Icelanders leave rural communities for high school and university in Reykjavik. Others move abroad for specialized degrees in Denmark or other Nordic countries. Some bring those skills back, but many stay where the jobs and bigger city lives are. Rural municipalities have spent years trying to attract staff for schools, clinics, and local government. When a village school cannot find enough children to fill classrooms, it has to merge with a neighbor or shut. Once that happens, convincing a young family to move in becomes even harder. The result is a country where the map is technically settled, but large stretches keep feeling emptier each decade. Number 8. Emptiness is part of the deal. Stack these reasons together and one thing becomes clear. Emptiness here is not an accident, it's part of the deal. This is a country with very little easy land, a long dark winter, and a location that makes every imported object more costly. Its economy runs on fish, tourists, and clean energy, yet still sits at the expensive end of global rankings. On top of that, earthquakes and eruptions sometimes redraw roads or push whole towns aside. And yet, life here scores well on the things most countries say they want. Iceland regularly ranks high for safety, education, and equality. Almost all of its electricity comes from renewable sources. People swim outdoors in winter in hot water that rose out of the ground a few minutes earlier. The same forces that keep the population low also keep heavy industry limited and wide open spaces intact. On a winter night, you can stand at the edge of a small town and look out over snow, lava, and sky, with almost no other lights in sight. Some people would feel trapped by that. Others feel like they can finally breathe. Would you trade busy streets and short flights for a life where nature wins most arguments, but the horizon always feels open? Iceland will never hold tens of millions of people. The glaciers, lava fields, storms, and distances make sure of that. The few who stay are not filling in empty space on a map. They are choosing a country where living with that emptiness is part of the deal and part of the appeal.